But that's the other thing. Like, you always get mad at me about having the phone so close by.
Well, because you can't shut it off.
Okay, but I don't want it shut off because sometimes we gotta look shit up. I'm not a fucking encyclopedia. I understand that. I need to look stuff up, bro.
Fucking, they're trying to get into the topic with us, and they're just trying to bond with us, and then all of a sudden they hear like,
I think you have...
Because you have the one cell phone on the planet fucking Earth that you can't actually shut off to silent.
That's adorable that you think people want to bond with us.
I didn't say a lot of people want to
Everybody knows the only two people listening to this thing are our mothers.
What? I hope not.
I'm rolling there. Touche.
Yeah, there you go.
Good point.
Well, this is something. This is a weird, strange time. What is it? What's that saying? May you live in interesting times?
Are we starting now?
I don't know. Are we?
I mean, we could.
Oh,
might want to hope to think we could.
The record button ninja strikes again.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Weapons of Meme Destruction podcast episode number 3.
Oh, no Spanish this time.
Espanol, yeah.
I'll cover your bases. Número 3.
Yeah, there you go. Which can be found at all your podcast catchers, but also make sure to check out the website.
What's a podcast catcher?
WMDpodcast.com/3.
Is it like a butterfly net? I got one. It's a shitty liberal.
I think the listeners definitely thought that a podcast catcher is exactly that.
I believe so. Catcher. I mean, a podcatcher. Ooh, that sounds like something like
Catchers of
Starship Troopers. Right?
We can't be tangenting already. We've already started the episode.
Have we?
I think so.
Okay.
Then we need to talk podcast. Okay. What we're talking about today is a critique that we get, and I will say, I'll only speak for myself, not my beautiful co-host here.
Yeah.
I get this a lot, and sometimes, going to admit, when I hear it, and it comes especially from close friends, stings a little because I think there's some truth to it. But I've put some thought into it. You might think it's a rationalization on my part. I don't know. We'll see. But I think that the topic comes across a certain way for very specific reasons. And, take my explanation for what you think is true yourself. What about you? I mean, you ever get this critique from friends?
Well, why don't we talk about what the critique is, and then I'll tell you whether or not I get it.
Did I not do that yet?
No.
Okay.
Working down the script, Dane reveals.
Yes, as you can tell, these episodes are very highly refined.
Dissolved
before we start
a picturesque sunset. Dane reveals.
Okay. And again, you'll just have to say if you've got it. The critique I get from time to time is someone will say, Dane, listen, I understand you critique both the left and the right a lot. No love lost for either, at least in any dogmatic sense. But, you really come across off as more taking on the left than the right, which kind of makes me think that maybe you do favor the right more, or whatever the case may be. Now, again, for obvious reasons, I understand that. Stings a little bit because I'm like, maybe there is some truth to it. But then I thought about it, and I think I realized why I do that. I don't think it's a rationalization. Maybe you do, but Dave, you ever get that critique?
I mean, I'm not as vocal as you are, and definitely not on as many platforms with my vocality. Well, no, not really, because I don't, like I said, I don't.
You won't put it out there like that?
I don't give people my 2 cents until they ask it, and then if I do give them my 2 cents, I try to be very, pragmatic about it and tell them, like, well, this is this because this, and that's, but I usually lean left, and, I do lean further left than I do right, but they make it harder and harder each day to.
I think that'll be something interesting to dive into in this episode.
Oh, do you think so?
What it is about you that makes you think you're more left than right? Because I think this is a question we should all ask ourselves.
Correct.
I ask myself when I get this critique from friends, am I really more right than left? Well, let me examine not just the surface level things like, the right only likes rich people and hates poor people, and the left is the champion of the people, or from a right critique, the left are just, reckless,
fiscally
complete open borders, everything like they hate the United States. That's the one.
Communist.
The glib ones that right ones would say of the left. But not thinking about left and right in those very superficial terms, but really getting into the nitty gritty of what are the moral, philosophical, ethical questions of what it means to be on the left and the right. Because I think everybody has that question with themselves implicitly, but they can only make the decision about where they are based on what they understand of the category that they're standing themselves up against. Like, do I agree more with this box or that box? And we're not going to get into the whole, everybody's like, I hate labels. Don't talk about boxes. Don't put people in boxes.
Did you define what this is? So what this definition of this episode is that, are we attacking the left more so than the right because we are more conservative, how do you want to put it? How do you want to put this on the map? Like the pin on the map.
Do we personally find ourselves more on the right versus the left? Do we think that our messaging comes off like that? Like basically, is the critique, no matter what form it takes, could come from a friend, a total stranger, whatever. How do you understand that critique to be?
Okay.
Like, do you think they're just trying to, caricature you because they really don't again, somebody who calls themselves a friend but really doesn't care for you? Is it something like that? Or is it something more like, no, this is a friend who does care for you and says, listen, I just want you to understand that sometimes this is the way you come across, and give you a chance to, do some self-work. You know what I'm saying? Right. So those are coming from two very different areas, but
ending up in the same junction.
How you respond to that critique of assuming that person is coming from area 1 or area 2 is really on you to make that decision. And then the nature of the relationship with the person after that.
Was that you hitting the tennis ball back into my court?
Yes.
Oh, that's stupid. I wasn't even ready.
That's why I shut it up and got quieter.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, sure. If that's what you want to call it. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it's so polarized nowadays that, and then kind of going back to the episode that we recorded, was it the second one or the first one?
I don't want to get into numbers.
Oh, yeah, because
I would love to, but I don't have that kind of memory for this.
Right.
No, your head's in the right place. Strategically, it's in the right place.
You should have a callback. Reference number 1.
Yeah, we definitely should.
But you only get the narrative. You only get the narrative. Yeah. Well,
like we said, highly scripted episodes. These things are, people.
We'll insert episode number 1. So anyway, go back and listen to episode number 1. And but anyway,
if we do that, I apologize in advance.
I want to do that so hard, but my editing skills are very minimal. Okay. But like we brought up in the one of the previous episodes, is that there's always a narrative that you have to follow, and they give you the talking points for your day. So it's like, if you're getting ready for work, how many people have, either CNN or Fox News on, and they're going over the same story and they hit the same 5 points. This is it. This is what happened. This is our perspective on it. This is why it's bad, and this is why it hurts us, and these are the reasons that we feel this way. And then you go out into your day.
You're saying the whole narrative is basically fed to people.
Right.
Whatever their bubble is.
If you're on our team,
right,
then here's your narrative, here's your talking points, here's your rebuttals. Right. Here's how you fight here's how you go out to your coworkers and fight with the guy that doesn't agree with you.
Right.
And here's the infallible truths that we give you for the day.
Right. It's gospel.
Yeah.
It's the gospel as handed down from on high.
Right.
Your party leaders at the top.
Sure. So, and then, so that being said, it's hard to have a really in-depth discussion with people that just, and then they come at it with a very emotional response if you come up with one of their sticking points. So they're like, oh, I gotcha. So then they really want to ramp into their response instead of like listening to your whole point that you're trying to get across. Because a lot of the times I agree with 90% of the shit that's out there. Yeah, we should probably have some, and here's where I come back to leaning left, a little more left than, right and even center.
For whatever you understand the center to be, you're
right. Like I do think that there are social programs that, if you're trying your hardest, and shit just sometimes doesn't work out, there should be something that catches you, that, a little safety net so that you don't fall down to the doldrums, your family goes destitute and you cease to exist, which is very Darwinian and very like circle of life-ish, but it's a little inhumane. So I agree with some of the...
It's like, this is the throwaway line. It's a little inhumane.
So...
That's just this minor thing that we don't care about the well-being of human beings.
If he dies, he dies.
Oh god. Okay, sorry.
But anyway, so that's what I mean. I believe in like social programs to help those people out now, and then also I lean a little conservative when it comes to freedom of speech and.
Okay, I want to put
guns.
a pin in that thing specifically. Social programs to help people.
Okay.
Because I want to use that as illustrative of how the left and the right's portrayed versus how the left and the right really is in the world, which we can show by giving you real clear-cut examples.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is what they have done in pursuance of this ideal, right?
Sure.
That's one of their moral guiding compasses, right? Help people lesser than you, right? That's what they claim to be. Okay, so measure that principle. So even if we say the person, if Nancy Pelosi or whoever is on the political left that is, you want to have all the power because this is the
your
right and moral way to
the
go.
left and the right.
Right. So he or she, and again, if it's the right, it's Trump.
Right.
Again, this isn't just one
side. What's that turtle fuck? McConnell? Mitch McConnell?
I'm not going to vote for that. That sounds more.
I feel like he makes
Kermit's a frog, not a turtle.
Amphibian. They're amphibian. They're both. Wait, is a turtle an amphibian or is it a reptile? It's a reptile.
It's a reptile.
Fuck. But they're in the same genus.
Your analogy falls apart.
Fuck.
Can we get back?
I had it all up on the whiteboard. It's like Kermit voice goes with. Well, name a famous turtle. One famous. Oh fuck! I just walked right into that one. Raphael, Donatello, fucking Leonardo. I just trumped myself. God damn it, David.
The turtle from Finding Nemo. Like, whoa, dude, totally. Tubular.
Oh fuck yeah!
That turtle was awesome. Man.
You got shredded in the gnar, bro.
I really thought that Pixar was going to make a movie with just that guy.
They should have.
Did they not?
Wait, I thought they did.
They should have, because that would have been Pixar. Listen, we want 1% of the proceeds from this movie because, listen, we're not greedy, and that thing's
righteous. When he dives into the fucking.
Man.
Current.
All right. So anyway,
but no. I don't want to just throw this away. Let's get back to the poignant matter. Other turtles that were. What was that? What was that other book? What was
back on track.
What was that other turtle book? He like wore like a little red cap, and he would like go to school. It was like a kid's book.
Oh yes.
Oh god.
I watched that with my nephews when they were really.
Fuck! I'm never gonna get it, and I'm not gonna look it up on my phone.
Just look it up. So, I'm gonna get us back on track. You got time to look up the damn turtles.
I thought we were on track.
I'm glad we're focused.
I thought we were on track.
Anyway,
getting to the really.
So whatever your given side, whatever you think is the strong moral principle that they are basing all of their positions on, all I'm saying is look at their records and what they've produced. Now, it's very easy to just dismiss it and say, oh, well, it's because they get so much obstruction from the other side or the other, whatever the case may be. At some level, you're going to have to convince enough of 320 million people that your side is the right way to get them to register with your party and vote for your candidate. So on some level, when you see 2/3 of the American electorate that's disenfranchised, what has that told you about both the right and the left? Something doesn't sit right with 2/3 of Americans that they think, listen, I just don't trust this whole system. I'm disaffected. I don't care anymore. And I'm not going to vote. I don't care. I mean, real political apathy starts to set in. And I think that it's because the principles, taking everybody on their best assumed terms and saying, on your own terms, I agree with you. If you're on the left, you're all about the poor and you're this, that, or whatever. And if you're on the right, you're all about, the sanctity of life. And then, blow a bunch of poor people up in other countries just because they were born in the wrong geographic area. But anyway, both of those principles, if those are the highest values of your party, and you see again and again and again on their own terms, they justify policies that clearly and definitively are hurting the exact communities they're trying to help, that would lead to a substantial bit of apathy from most of the American public, to where they're like, on just a fundamental gut level, I'm just not going to participate in this system any more than I have to. I'm going to pay my taxes to keep them off my back. I'm going to send my kids to the schools they want, use the money they want, engage in the right business that they say, but just so I can fly enough under the radar to just live a happy life with my family. That's what I think is going on with most Americans. But these loudest fringes on the left and the right, who we attack, and we're going to get into why it may seem more left and right here in a second, but that's why we're attacking it, because those are the directions that have all the power. It's not that the disaffected masses would not vote for somebody on those fringes like that. So the fact that they're disengaged is an important aspect of American society.
Very good points, Dane, and good stuff, and well researched and well thought out. Anyway, for all those of you really focusing in on pins and needles, the name of the turtle was fucking Franklin. Franklin the turtle. God damn it.
Everybody was driving their car going, it's Franklin, you idiots.
Yeah, you fucking...
It's Franklin!
Haven't you ever had kids? No.
I can neither confirm nor deny that the answer to that question.
Okay.
No, so, okay.
Let's go.
So we've gone out to the macro, I'm going to bring it back to the micro again. So when somebody says that to me, I start thinking.
But I think you missed a poignant part too. Like, did you mention the platforms? That they have all the platforms the left has?
Yeah, no, that's going to get into it.
I'm sorry, I've skipped a couple chapters.
Like where I'm coming from, and you say where you're coming from for why you think that might be a reasonable critique to you, and then we'll get into why that's the case.
Oh, like a general back and forth.
Yeah. So when I look at that critique empirically, I think, well, yeah, my friend is right, or this stranger's right. Like, most of my posts are targeting the left, and to varying degrees. But like I said, I tell people all the time. I could tell somebody 5 minutes of talking to me will know what my number one principle is. It's anti-war.
What if God?
So if there was if there was any value in being a quote unquote one subject voter, I vote purely on war. Which of the candidates that are there is going to have the least likelihood to, again, kill people just because they were born in a different geographic area and just treat them like, well, I guess it's just more collateral damage. That hospital we hit with a drone, or that school full of kids, that's just collateral damage. That's just the cost of war. Could you imagine if that happened domestically in your own country, how upset you would be? So anyway, it's too far down the rabbit hole again.
God has the wrong colored skin.
That's my main, I guess, driving motivation, and everybody that knows me knows that. So then it would be the natural. Why do you target the left more than the right? And we'll get into that later. But yes, so that's why I think on the surface, somebody who has that objection to me, just as a matter of empirics, I do disproportionately target the left with the things I say than the right, but we'll get into why.
I feel like if I can tag into this
Are you 50-50? Are you the unbiased man?
No, I mean, of course you can have biases, of course. I try to be as close to perfect as possible,
Listen, I just want to be perfect enough to be able to get somebody fired for wearing the wrong Halloween costume 2 years ago.
Retroactively fired. Yeah, retroactively racist.
I want to have that much level of non.
That is kind of fun. Can we talk about? Can we segue to that too? Like, what kind of fucking world are we living in? Where,
that's foreshadowing.
That's moving the goalpost. We'll talk about moving the goalpost, man. Like when you did it, it was like totally acceptable. But then a couple of years later, it's unacceptable. But then you publicly outed yourself in the future for your past transgressions because you put it on the interfucking web. Yeah. And if there's one, Father Time is undefeated, and a close second is the internet.
And so now the person who you are today, even if you had a certain intent back then,
right?
The certain person you are today, who may now be married with kids, so you losing a job isn't just hurting you; it's hurting a lot of people around you that have come to depend on you in the intervening time period. But now, because somebody has made it their, holy mission to destroy you because of something you did that they didn't like a couple of years ago, like the level of just sheer sainthood that you must think be running through your veins. Like you have never made a mistake once in your life that you thought, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't have did that or said that or whatever the case may be. Sure hope nobody drudges that back up and can literally get me fired. Well, I lose my house. I can't feed my... I don't know anything about...
cancel culture?
We'll put it in the show notes page. But this exact thing happened. I want to say it was published in the Atlantic or something a few days ago. A lady wore 2 years ago. And for the more politically savvy, you might remember this. Do you remember when... they were talking about like Halloween costumes, and Megyn Kelly, formerly of Fox News, but then on like MSNBC or something, made this.
NBC. I think she's primetime.
Well, she was. That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
Well, anyway, like the blackface stuff happened with like Governor Northam in Georgia, and like
right.
Justin Trudeau in Canada or whatever, and. I can't remember exactly, but Megyn Kelly said something to the effect of, kind of the intent of it matters.
Right.
Just because someone, like, you have to judge people on their individual intentions. That's what we allegedly do and everything else, right? If you don't vote for my presidential candidate who can rule over 320 million lives, then you're somehow a bad person. It's not that we can just have a reasonable disagreement. You are the epitome of evil because you support this guy who I really hate. So again, let's not pretend that intentions don't matter. Every aspect of control that one side wants over society is based on intentions mattering. So for them to say, well, intentions don't matter, that's basically what Megyn Kelly was saying. She got fired of it. This lady who would consider herself on the left, she's at a major, American newspaper or magazine or whatever. She goes to a Halloween costume, or she goes to a Halloween party 2 years ago.
This is Megyn Kelly?
Dressed up as the Megyn Kelly, but I think she had blackface on to kind of call out the hypocrisy. Like, she was targeting Megyn Kelly. Mm-hmm. She was like again, in a joke costume, but she was trying to say Megyn Kelly is the bad person here, which again makes sense because she's politically on the left, and Megyn Kelly can't say things like that. It's insensitive. So she wears that Halloween costume. One or two other women at the party get offended by it.
Right.
And again, it is what it is. They wrote their email to the host of the party, and, he apologized and all this kind of stuff Jesus. 2 years ago. But then now, fast forward, that wasn't enough. There was no time for forgiveness in that 2 years, or thinking, well, that was really, even if you thought she had bad intentions of saying, well, that was really bad of her to do. But it, like, in the end of the day, like again, did it force me to lose my job overnight? Like, that's kind of a big thing to do to somebody over an offense. And again, this is not, taking that all the way to the extreme, saying, well, what is offense and what isn't.
Hashtag fuck your feelings.
I'm not getting into the whole spectrum of the thing, but what I'm saying is that to think that you've never made a mistake that could have offended somebody, even in a deep and meaningful way, like these two women who are still upset, I'm sure they were offended. I don't detract from what they interpreted the costume to be. Because, again, they're coming to the situation with a different point of view, and I understand that. But 2 years later, you're going to get somebody fired for making a joke about somebody who you would also politically say that was the wrong thing for her to do. And I don't know, man. That's a level of arrogance and control that I can't even quantify.
Well,
like, you are such a perfect person that everybody who doesn't meet your standards...
And by the way, this is a left leaning thing. This always comes from
it was like a Halloween party for whatever newspaper she works for. This was in either DC or New York,
right? But you know what the real problem with this is? What? The nuts and bolts of this is that we are going to get the shittiest fucking costumes from here on out on Halloween. I swear to Christ, it's all going to be mom and pop. Oh, I'm a Scarecrow. Oh, I'm Dorothy. Like, fuck you. I want some drag. I want to be able to, like, Spider-Man, but if he was bitten by a radioactive zombie.
You're saying those kind of okay. Well,
that's that. People are going to be scared because you can get.
No matter the cultural impact, I guess what I'm trying to say is okay. So this is where I referred to earlier about maybe you might think it's a rationalization, and maybe you come away with this episode thinking exactly that. Believe me, I considered it. So when I see that, and I'm only speaking personally, I don't know if David sees it the same way. I don't think that it's even objectionable on any level. Just by a matter of pure empirics of how much of society is dominated by a more left-wing type way of thinking. I mean, Hollywood, media, government, is split 50-50.
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, they can actually wipe you.
The whole media umbrella.
What was that? There's this rapper that I always hear that was just, I don't know the context, but he didn't know that one of his fans or one of the people that posted on his wall or something like that, his Twitter, wrote a response saying that, like, I probably fuck more chicks than you do, meaning that it was like probably a woman that transferred.
Audio editors, can you please put in like a 5-minute before that part?
All right, David's going to start talking about this.
If you have kids in the car, turn it down for 5 seconds, or
this is the new normal. This is the new normal. Accept it, Dane. What are you, a transphobe? Transphobe? No. Anyway, so she made. Would it be she or would it be he? Fuck it. It's so goddamn confusing. A person posted on his wall, I probably fuck more chicks than you. And he goes, okay, dude. And he didn't know that he had offended, like, he didn't know that he crossed that, like, gender. He wasn't trying to be mean. He didn't know that it was a trans person. And he just goes, okay, dude, whatever, like, kind of go fuck yourself. And he got banned off of Twitter for life because he accidentally misgendered somebody on an anonymous fucking website. It's like, damn. You guys just do not give a fuck. The axe shall fall. But that's the craziness of it. And they can deplatform you in an instant if they just think that you're not going with their narrative. Is my point.
Right. And so the only thing I would tack onto that is I would say, okay, maybe that's just the way you guys see it. You feel like, rights being attacked again because you consider yourself on the right. Again, every step of this process for like, oh, well, this is why you're saying it. We've thought about that. And, my response to that is, well, I'm not going to make any moral judgments on where that comes from or if it's justified or whatever. Because when you have companies all over the U.S. and the world that when these, lines of thought come out, they all jump behind it. Mm-hmm. I think they're doing it for very capitalistic reasons. They see what their consumers want. And they are marketing to their consumers.
But they are being altruistic?
What I'm saying again, I'm saying taking the moral out of it. You can go down the moral path and say, they believe they're doing good. I missed that part of that's it. That's one way to think of it. And there could be completely other self-interested economic reasons for doing it. Mm. Somebody who doesn't agree with it can sit on the sideline and go, oh, Gillette's so stupid. They sell razors to men. Why are they jumping on the toxic masculinity train? That whole backlash. But what I'm saying is, I wouldn't even necessarily consider them doing it for quote unquote left reasons, more so than they're the whole kind of foundational principle of running a successful business is know who your customer is and serve them. I think that's what capitalism is. If these are greedy people who just want more money, how do you get more money than the competitor?
Like, let's take Pizza Hut.
You get more people to buy your product, so you got to appeal to their cultural notions.
Sticking with the
Gillette, not a left or right thing.
Sticking with the Gillette analogy, what if Pizza Hut came on?
They could be reading it wrong, but That's what they're at.
What if Pizza Hut came out with a commercial that said, "Heart disease, go fuck yourself, you fat fuck. You know you like our pizza. Come in. You know you can't control yourself. Look at you. Look at the mirror. You disgust me. Get in here and buy our fucking pizzas and eat it up, fatty. Oink, oink." No.
What they've decided is that taking a totally neutral stance, like, we have awesome pizza and it's going to make your party awesome. Like,
you want some good tasty in your mouth?
That's what the people want. The people don't want to be preached to, good, bad, or indifferent.
Speaking of which,
they just want to hear, I got my 10 friends coming over and I want them to have a good time as we watch this football game or whatever.
The highest 5 graduates of MIT working in the engineering department at Pizza Hut because the things that they
have to link to this in the show notes.
The things that they decide to shove cheese into on the Pizza Hut menu is staggering.
Oh, so you don't know this.
Well, no, it's a conjecture, but I'm pretty sure. And I'm on it. And I'm not just looking at Pizza Hut. I'm not just looking at Pizza Hut.
Write this down and look it up.
I'm not just looking at Pizza Hut. You gotta
find something on the show notes page. If you can prove that 5 MIT
it's
people are on the board at Pizza Hut.
It's a conspiracy, and I'm getting to the bottom of it. And you're not out of the woods, Starbursts. I'm onto you. I'm going to find out why you're so fucking curiously juicy, and it's probably because you're killing babies.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Easy.
I like that conspiracy theory.
So, okay. Getting back on track.
Wait, do you really want me to look up to see if they have engineers working on how
would be hilarious.
How they can fuck cheese more into pizza?
I hope it's true.
You remember that double-decker pizza, by the way? Like, it was fire. Like, there's a pizza on top, and they put another crust and put the cheese on the...
Yes.
Like,
okay.
What kind of mad scientist?
Yes, all the layers, all the things. Okay, back on track.
Sorry. I'm hungry right now. Want to get a pizza?
So, that's...
We should go to Papa John's just to spite them. Do all this promo for Pizza Hut and fuck you, Papa John's. Sorry, anyway. Go ahead. You had a point, and I fucked it all up.
So the thing we're trying to get to is that's the way we see it. Again, somebody coming at it from a different angle may see it completely differently, but the way we see it is one side tends to be culturally dominant. If you have... I mean, we'll just count it up. CBS, NBC, CNN, and all of their affiliates, right? They'll have little spats between them here and there, but mostly it's all like Fox News is evil. And again, it might be. I'm not taking a stance one way or another. I don't have to. I'm listening to the left on its own terms and its own claims. And you have almost every major media corporation lined up saying that one's the bad one.
Wait, hold on.
And then, other alternative media,
something just occurred to me.
Stuff like that. Like, that is put on, like, terrorist watch lists. Meanwhile, CNN can jump on the gravy train in the first Desert Storm and put that, girl from the United Nations up there saying, oh, yeah, the Iraqi soldiers are taking babies out of incubators and throwing them on the floor. Completely fabricated, totally made up, we found out later. But, CNN and all of them at the time were right down the party line. Oh, yeah, can you believe these Iraqi soldiers are doing that? We have to invade. We have to bomb. We have to yada, yada, yada. And the foreign policy consensus in Washington, D.C. just keeps getting what it wants. Follow-up. Anybody remember weapons of mass destruction? You remember how much diversity there was in the media opinion at that time that there was no weapons of mass destruction? Somebody who said those kind of things at the time was unpatriotic and, was sympathizing with Saddam and all the same stuff you hear today to justify every single war. More death, more destruction, more money wasted, more American soldiers coming home maimed or not coming home at all, more kids in hospitals and schools over in the Middle East. When Madeline Albright was asked, when she was in the Clinton administration, was asked on 60 Minutes, there's reports that in Iraq, there's been 500,000 children that have starved to death. 500,000 children. And you know what her answer was? Her answer was, well, you know what? We think the price was worth it. Now, this episode is being recorded in the middle of, coronavirus time. And as we sit here today, there's in the low 100,000s of people dead. 100, 110, 120, right? And we're told that this is this world-ending, virus, right? And it's killed 100,000 people in the United States. They killed 5 times that much. Not some uncontrollable pandemic. This was just people making decisions. People with a lot of power making decisions killed 5 times the amount of crime. Now, if that's not in a completely unpreventable, unforced error, I don't know what is.
But I've got
But
a
yet,
question.
every one of these media sources. So all I'm saying is, when these media sources come out later. Sorry, thank you. I needed to close this loop.
Let's put a pin
When
in this
these
one.
media circles line up almost in unison and say that one's bad, that doesn't necessarily make me think the bad one is right. They could both be wrong. But when I look at the cultural dominance, who gets the most play, I don't think anybody could argue with a straight face that the left does not have more control on culture. From Hollywood to DC and New York, the culture is dominated with these sort of things. So in that environment, I might think, yeah, well, the left is culturally dominant and they're doing a pretty good job at calling out the right. You ask any average run-of-the-mill person what they think about somebody on the right is, and they're immediately going to regurgitate the left prevailing talking point. Oh, they only care about rich people. Or they're this, that, whatever. Okay. Somebody who watches Fox News say, what do you think about somebody on the left? Oh, they're America haters. They want to destroy this country. These are crazy people who we can't talk to. So what I'm saying is it exists on both sides. But culturally, the left has way more airtime.
But let me throw this out there. Do you think that they believe their own shit? Or do you think it's kind of like the WWE, where like Triple H is fighting The Rock one time, and they're mortal enemies, and they can't stand each other, and then they're spotted a day later working out together and joking and laughing, or like having dinner together and being friends?
Yeah,
I don't like backslapping and doing all that shit. Do you think that they just read the teleprompter and then they have to act all irate, or they have to act so upset, and then they turn it off and then they're like, oh, well,
no, that's a good question and a valid one, because I think that illuminates a point about this, and that's what I always come back to in so many contexts is we can never know the mind of somebody else. You can claim and have a whole bunch of theories and try to justify it based on 14,000 different variables that go into it. But anybody who says, I know what was in that person's mind, you don't know if they're lying to you about either their good intent or their bad intent. You have to take them at their word, or you judge them by their actions. Because the actions fundamentally always tell you what somebody really feels. Let's put this in a very simple analogy in economics. David has a pen, I have a battery. I know that I value that pen more than my battery. But is
this some weird Kaiser Sose bullshit? You're just taking shit in the room and putting it to an analogy? You fuck.
Well,
Gets his name from different shit in the room.
I mean, there is a pen. Okay, we'll do more simple. An apple and a dollar. How about that? That's not in the room. This is probably a way easier one. I was making it way harder than it.
Yeah, I don't know what line
an apple and a dollar. I know that I'm willing. I'll give you $1 for that apple. But I come to you and I say, David, I'll pay you 50 cents. Now, my words tell you that I only value that thing at 50 cents. But I know I value it at $1. And you know how you know how you can tell as the seller?
I can withhold my goods.
You just set it at $1, and if they pay for it, that tells you what.
Or you piss me off and I say $1.50. I'm gonna need about $3.50. You're goddamn locking up monster.
Anyway, that's the long-winded saying, I judge them by their actions.
Yes.
So when you say, do they believe it? I don't know. Well, all I do know is, for whatever reason, whether money or power or status or otherwise, they get up there, and every time when that
words are nice.
When that camera comes on, they're going to say what needs to be said.
Right.
And so what I'm saying is, in that environment, the left having such a much louder megaphone is doing a thorough job of calling out the hypocrisies on the right.
And they also,
and I agree with them. Believe me,
they also kind of make it their
pages where I'm like, yeah, that's a good point.
They also kind of make it their point to be more vocal too. I mean, there's a lot of MAGA hats that walk around, and those guys get their boners from like looking at people like slow their cars down and give them the stink eye. But at the same time,
but that's also lowest hanging fruit, and they both do that.
I'm saying, but the left is usually a lot more. They're like vegans; like they can't wait to tell you that.
Why did you have to go into?
Because I don't like vegans. I'm sorry if you're vegan and you listen to this. I like you. I'm just kidding. I can't with. I like meat.
See, like, but again, you can, but
It's my personal opinion.
But if they listen, if they
you just had some more protein in your system,
if they choose to hate you for it, again, that's also their decision.
That's fine.
Nobody is hurt from that. That's the beauty of the voluntariness of association.
You can just press stop right now and make your opinions felt by not listening to my meat-eating, chauvinistic ass, I guess. I don't know.
Well, as long as you acknowledge your own faults. That's whether they choose to stay or go is on them. I would just prefer you not turn people away willy-nilly.
Vegans, you know what you do. You need to stop.
Like, dang, you just called a whole bunch of people evil.
I eat meat. I eat meat all the time. I don't. It's not like one of the first things I say or how I define myself. Hi, I'm David. I play music. I eat meat. And how weird is that? That just sounds off.
Okay. All right. Well, you are weird and are always off, but
I'm on.
But that's I guess that's basically that's my spiel. That's my stick. That's why I come at it the way and why I understand if somebody says you tend to favor the right. What I see myself as doing is commenting more on the side that needs it because it doesn't have enough critique just in the culture.
That is weird to say though,
because when we think about somebody from the left, right? And again, these just put these two on the same plane as far as I'm concerned. You have Hitler and you have Stalin. Oh, God. Right? If somebody has a statue of Hitler, that is justifiably outrageous. He exterminated millions of people, was the worst tyrant you could think of, whatever. His name is synonymous with evil. Right?
Technically,
Stalin killed twice as many people on all kinds of various reasons and grounds, but primarily if they didn't go along with what he wanted. The point is, Stalin is not viewed the same way as Hitler or any other people in the same kind of category. Like take Che Guevara, for example, right? He was very open and clear and plain about his racism, his bigotry towards homosexuals, and he would just execute them just for being homosexual, period. But yet, Che shirts are everywhere.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is if both of those ideologies.
Well, one of them had a quote too.
Well, but the thing is,
one of them had a quote.
The Che, the Stalin, the Lenin. Right? Well, there's a Lenin statue standing in Seattle.
Sure. While
they're staring statues down all over the country. And although Lenin died before many of the atrocities started, at the time of his death, there were still 70-some thousand people already in gulags.
Hitler,
so he had already started that train.
And then there's also a more kind of gut visceral insidiousness with Stalin than there was with Hitler. I mean, Hitler, he had a horrible plan, and he wanted to wipe out as many people as he could, but he was doing it for the greater good. So he thought. You're always the hero of your own fucking story.
Of course.
But he was doing it for the greater good of Germany, he thought, whereas Stalin was just doing it to rise from power. And you get the quote from Stalin, if you kill one man, it's a murder. If you kill a million, it's a
tragedy.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I botched
that's a pretty cold, callous
which lets you know exactly where his mind was. Like, life was.
And again, going back to what we were just talking about, words and actions. Okay, that's an instance where the words happen to match the actions. So if there's one thing you can say about Stalin is when he said he would do something, he would do it, no matter what it took.
Well,
now we then have to ask ourselves, is that justified? Because again, and here's the point that I'm trying to make about the way the two sides are perceived in society. Right? Because evil and greediness and all the bad avarice things about human nature, because in the broader culture, that exists primarily on the right. Right? The right are the greedy ones that don't want to tax corporations. The right are the ones that want to control a woman's body. The right are the ones that want to, legislate who you love and yada, yada, yada. Like, okay, those are all very bad, evil human qualities in the abstract. But we take it from the abstract and apply it to each individual. You voted for Trump? Well, you're the worst thing I can possibly think of. You're a racist, you're this, or you're at least indifferent to his racism, whatever the case may be. There's no honest hearing going on there between that person. So, yes, society has sufficiently, and again, so I almost forgot to do the left, but the left is always, oh, well, these bad things might have happened as a result of their policies, but they were just well-intended. right? That assumption is never really made of the right. It's always their intentions were bad, so ex ante, their outcomes are bad. And the left gets that benefit of the doubt. Well, communism was bad, socialism was bad, it had bad outcomes, millions of people died. We get that. However, the principle that was guiding it was equality, and that everybody should get, the same, from each according to his ability to each according to his need. That Marxian principle.
Which carries over to today,
So
right?
I just ask you in the abstract whether you consider yourself left, right, or apolitical. If you're one of those, I don't like labels, I don't like boxes things, fine, you're welcome in here too. But however you see that, you see the two narratives playing out in society. And so all we're saying is why it may seem that we attack the left more is their megaphone's louder. There's more to say about them. They have resoundingly trounced the right in terms of the culture of the country. And I don't have to say whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, because in some instances it's great. More drug liberalization and things like that. But in other cases, it's we need to take from you for all these programs that you don't use or you don't need, or whatever the case may be, because it's for the greater good, and your individualness needs to be subjected or subordinated to the majority.
Case in point.
That's not a strong
case in point
cohesively creating society.
Case in point.
Fulcrum,
it's applied to today
people
with the same narratives that the right wants to go back to work because people are starving and they're losing money and they can't support themselves anymore.
That's another episode.
Yeah, you're seeing what I'm doing here? You're catching my flow. And then the left wants you to stay home because Granny can't catch a cold because she'll fucking die. Now, granted, I just made poo-poo out of COVID, not meaning there was some,
Yes.
There were some overstatements and understatements to add some effect to it.
Which is a whole nother topic.
Which is a whole nother topic, which is a whole nother episode. So while we're fresh on the topic, why don't we put a nice little bow on this one, because we're stretching our fucking time right now. So Dane, I yield the rest of my time to you.
Okay. It will be short.
Go.
The bow is, that's the way we see it.
Fuck the liberals.
Yes. That's the way
and
we
me
see
in particular.
It. We don't see it. Again, somebody else might think we're coming down more right, left, whatever. We can't help what their opinion of us. I mean, we can,
they're just more prevalent.
If you say messaging or whatever, but we're messaging, but we're not messaging. We have a message that we want to get out there, right? Non-violence, non-aggression, but we don't want to do it in any way that compromises our principle or somehow muddies up what the message is because we want people to like us. So that's not like, I'm just anti-PC for the sake of being anti-PC. That's no, I want to think for myself about why I'm being told that this is a good thing or that's a bad thing. And I want to make my decision. So the way I see it, maybe you disagree, is the left has more cultural play. It's more resoundingly defeated the right as a cultural standpoint. And because of that, I feel there's just more to say about that kind of power that the left seems to have over society. And again, society may love it. That may be exactly what society wants. I'm not making a moral judgment on one way or another, but I'm saying that particular stream of thought is played up a lot more than the other one, so it might seem that I'm attacking the stronger one. But you'll always notice that I'm not necessarily supporting the right one. I'm just attacking the left one. So keep that distinction.
So to take that 2.5 minutes of verbose verbiage and to sum it up in a couple of sentences.
Tell us why we're wrong.
They're the most prevalent in society, therefore we critique them the most.
Yeah.
I.e., the whale that spouts the most gets harpooned. Boom. All right, where can they find this?
That was nice.
Where can they find this?
WMDpodcast.com/3. You get to do all intros and outros from now on, David.
Why do I get to do intros and outros?
Put in a nice little succinct way. I talk too much.
I reject the goddamn premise of your pontifications. Go ahead.
So yes, WMDpodcast.com/3. We'll have a show notes page. David will tell you if he finds any scientific proof that
I'm on the case.
About what? It was like
the engineers.
The engineers.
Jesus
MIT
Christ.
engineers at Pizza Hut. Yes. 8 layers of cheese.
And if you guys do start hiring engineers, I want to fucking cut that idea, you piece of shit.
We want our cut from Pixar and a cut from that.
I'm coming for you next, Coca-Cola. Straight.
But yes, there, all your podcast services. Check us out. Share us with a friend.
Tell us that we're stupid.
Most importantly, come to the website. Jump in the comments. Tell us why we're wrong.
Spread the word. Spread the word to your friends. If you think that you have to make them, make them listen. Just stare at them intently if you enjoy this and make them like it.
Love y'all.
Bye-bye.